Hey there, I'm Alexander Creek, astrologer and intuitive. Welcome back. We're going to be talking about the astrology of the full moon in Taurus happening on Friday, November 15th. This full moon is conjunct Uranus. So that suggests that we'll see like a twist, a shocking development, a reversal, something we didn't see coming. Just kind of in the collective, but maybe personally for you, if you have personal placements around 24 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius. And I would say, like if you have placements about 3 degrees on either side of that, so like 21 degrees to 27 degrees. So we'll talk about your personal astrology in the second half of the video. And I'm also going to have timestamps available in the comments below or in the show notes if you're listening to the audio notes, where you can kind of just click on your sign. I would, however, suggest that you listen to the first part, which we're going to talk about the general astrology and kind of what this full moon means. So let's go ahead and get into it. So first of all, I hope everyone's doing okay post-election. If you are in the United States, on my end, it was kind of a shocking development on who won, and it was interesting just because a lot of astrologers predicted that Harris would win, and I didn't really offer a prediction because I've noticed that astrologers tend to get it wrong with elections. I think because personal biases can come up, and I just think astrology can be used in a better way than predicting like a toss up. I just find historically people are often inaccurate when it comes to honestly choosing who has like the better transits. I just think it's a whole misunderstood thing. And so anyway, but the energy has certainly been intense since the election. So I just wanted to kind of offer space and support for those of you who are feeling that. I do have some free meditations on my website as well if you need some like grounding and balancing as well. So check that out if you need. That's at dogstaroracle.com. I did want to mention we do have a Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius coming up, and I'll make a video about this specifically. But when the election was happening, Mercury was at the degree that it is going to eventually station direct at. So it's going to station retrograde about 22 or 23 degrees of Sagittarius later in the month, I think on November 23rd. And it's when it is, so it's going to backtrack through Sagittarius, and when it gets to when it stations direct, it'll be at 6 degrees. That is the degree that Mercury in Sagittarius was at when it was election day. So I am wondering if possibly I'm wondering if we're going to be looking at a whole mess, considering the elections or the election results or counting the votes or something like that. It does suggest that we'll have to go back and review, rethink, redo, especially because Mercury in Sagittarius is in a sign that is considered to be Mercury's detriment, meaning that Mercury rules Gemini, so its opposite sign, its opposite sign, Sagittarius. It may struggle a little bit with seeing the details, with getting like precise facts. And this Mercury retrograde as well is going to be square Neptune, which suggests that things may not be what they seem. That just because Mercury square Neptune, especially Mercury in its detriment square Neptune, it's like getting the precise factual information may be a challenge. And I did notice that this Mercury retrograde as well is going to be stationing retrograde right on Donald Trump's sun and moon, because he's a full moon baby. He's Gemini Sagittarius full moon baby. It's going to be square. It's going to be conjunct his sun and moon, or kind of right in that axis. And it's also going to be right on Kamala Harris's descendant as well, which suggests her open enemies, her political opponents, her alliances, her partnerships. So you got to wonder what's coming up. It feels like I'm not saying necessarily that like, oh, it's going to be totally like, but like, or, like we're going to have Harris as our president, but it does suggest it. I would think like maybe legal challenges or just things not being what they seem. So I would definitely pay attention to that, as that is definitely coming up. So let's go ahead and talk about this full moon specifically, but I did want to give you a taste of that Mercury retrograde, and that will be the next video that I do for this podcast as well. Okay, so for this particular full moon, Full moons in Taurus are generally like really grounding times, a time to really kind of be in your body. This one is a little different just because there is kind of a jolt to this full moon because it is going to be conjunct Uranus. This is the last full moon in Taurus that will be conjunct Uranus. For quite a number of years because Uranus is getting ready to go into Gemini soon. And we've had a lot of new moons, full moons in the fixed signs. So Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Taurus that have all been square Uranus, conjunct Uranus, opposite Uranus. So a lot of our so if some of these themes feel familiar, like you said, because it's like you said some similar stuff on the new moon in Aquarius, for instance. That's because they have all kind of been like they have all been like later degrees of Taurus and right where Uranus is. So there has been like a jolt, electricity, a feeling of having to make sudden changes, sudden developments, particularly if you have placements in your chart at kind of like in the later degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius, me included. I have my sun at 23. So Uranus has been hanging out on my sun, and I've been extra unpredictable this past year. So, my point is there is like this Uranian electricity to this full moon. However, this moon is still in Taurus. The moon exalts in Taurus. The moon loves to be in Taurus because um the moon in Taurus likes to, this is like, okay, this is like a time to like enjoy a warm bath, have a really good meal, stretch your body, do some yoga to really kind of get in your body and be and like kind of find some grounding in physical, sensual things that bring you a sense of security and comfort. Even if this full moon is conjunct Uranus, you still want to get into that energy of like, let's enjoy being in our bodies. Let's enjoy some good sex. Let's, I don't know, go shopping. Like, you know what I mean? Like maybe even just like enjoy some like material sort of comforts or making like a really nice meal or something is very something that might be helpful and might feel really restorative with this full moon in Taurus. If you're having to catch this video like a day or two after, it's still going to be in effect, right? Because we kind of feel the effects of full moons for around 3 days or so because I know I'm getting this video up a little close to this full moon, at least for me. This full moon is also ruled by Venus because Venus is the ruler of Taurus. So we always want to look and see what the planet that rules the full moon or new moon is doing at the time of that lunation, because it's sort of like that planet is a guide for this full moon. So Venus is newly in Capricorn. She's sort of completed her cycle in Sagittarius. She's in the early degrees of Capricorn. She'll be about 4 degrees of Capricorn at the time of this full moon. And Venus in Capricorn is, she's an earth sign as well. So she's very grounded, she's practical, she's very aware of her worth, and she's very solidly connected to her values. Because values is another thing that sort of Venus rules. And Venus in Capricorn is very aware and is very much aware of her worth. She's very like invested in the long term. For instance, Venus in Capricorn in relationship. If you have this in your chart, you might be a person who's like, okay, are we going somewhere? Is this relationship long term? Will you be there for me? What do you have to offer me? Are you good enough for me? And you may find that under this full moon that you'll have a greater understanding of who or what in your life is worth your time, your energy, and your money. Because Venus in Capricorn is very aware of what she is investing in and what she's getting out of something. And so, under this full moon, you may find yourself, because of this influence from Uranus, getting into a new relationship or commitment, maybe kind of suddenly. Or it could be the opposite, in that you're deciding to end something or exit something, whether it's like a work relationship or whatever it is. You may decide to end something or exit something or have some kind of sudden awareness around like, this is actually not for me. I'm not getting paid enough. My talent is worth more than this. Or we have some major discussions to have in a relationship because I'm really finding that it's not worth my time right now. And I think the song like No Scrubs by TLC is very much a Venus and Capricorn, you know, not necessarily saying like, if you don't, it's, I think Capricorn can often be boiled down to money and like in sort of popular consciousness, but it's more than that because Venus is again aware of her investment. Am I getting an equal kind of output for this? Am I getting something that's worth it? Because I know that I'm worth it. And if I'm around just like a scrub who's not offering me anything, I'm going to be gone. I'm going to exit this relationship. So that awareness I feel like is going to be showing up with this energy. And anyway, I like Venus in Capricorn, and by sign she will be trining this full moon. The energy around this full moon actually I like personally. Just because there is like that sudden twist, shocking development energy, but it's supported by the planets too. So it could just be something that kind of comes in all of a sudden, but there is like this beneficial energy to this full moon, in my opinion. The big one around this full moon, like I mentioned, is that it's conjunct Uranus on the planet of surprises and shakeups. And I would expect sudden twists in the collective, like in our public figures, kind of seeing kind of what's coming up. This could be anything from like a shocking upset, sudden news, like reversals and separations are some things that Uranus rules. So personally, for you, it simply may show up as like a willingness and thirst for something new. Especially things ruled by Venus. And Venus rules things like pleasure, relationships, things that we value, art, like the finer things in life. And so like for example, if you're sick of the same date night place with you and your partner, you could feel like let's just do something totally different. I'm sick of doing the same thing. I want to just change it up. And they can even also just kind of give you the courage in like in your life to make a change. Depending maybe where this full moon falls for you or where Venus kind of rules for you in your chart, you're going to want to pay attention to those yearnings and those feelings about like what has gotten stale. What can I change? Especially for those of you with personal placements at 21 to 27 degrees of the fixed signs: Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus. Um, Particularly things like the sun, moon, and rising. If this is like Pluto or like one of your outer planets, you're probably not going to be feeling it as much because the outer planets are more abstract. The sun, moon, rising, and like Mercury, Venus, Mars are going to be more like ruling kind of personal things for you. Um, and also if you have something like that, I wouldn't freak out. Like this is not the time to be like, oh my God, this is gonna be shocking, sudden blah. Like you just might feel this energy a little bit more. Um, I also wanted to point out too, kind of along the lines of current events, that this full moon is conjunct Donald Trump's Taurus midheaven. He has his midheaven, which kind of rules like career, reputation. It's like the most public part of your chart, around 24 degrees of Taurus. So this full moon is conjunct that, and it's also square his Mars. Mars is the planet of conflict, heat, fire, and in his chart, it would be his most malefic planet. Malefic meaning like a planet that how can I boil down like the word malefic? Like it's not like a positive influence, essentially. Um, it suggests like some sort of, I would say maybe shocking development connected to his public reputation, his career. Maybe something comes out. Um, and just because we had another aspect this summer. There was a Mars Uranus square. So like sudden acts of violence, essentially, that was conjunct his midheaven. And that ended up he was shot at, right? And I'm not wishing violence upon him at all. But I don't feel like this full moon is necessarily a positive one for him. Um, there's at least going to be some sort of combative influence or some battle or something that he might be fighting with this. So I would just be curious to see what happens here. And it will just, and it'll be interesting for you to watch. so, um, so let's talk about what this means for you. Who fucking cares about Donald Trump? So let's go ahead and talk. Okay, as always, I suggest listening for your rising sign. It's going to be more accurate for you. If you don't know your rising sign, or if you're super confused by that whole concept, listen for your sun or moon, depending on what resonates most. If you know you're born during the day, the sun might be a better option. If you know you're born at night, the moon might be a better option. But overall, I suggest listening for your rising sign. So, Aries rising, this full moon is going to be happening for you in your second house. So this has to do with money. So there could be like a completion of a fulfillment, some kind of ending or event connected to finances with this full moon for you. Again, it could kind of come out of nowhere, or there could just be something almost like ingenious that you're sort of like that you have some sort of stroke of inspiration or some sort of interesting idea, because Uranus is connected to like sudden bolts or flashes of intuition or ingenious solutions to something. And again, I'm talking sudden, and it's things with resources, with cash flow, with finances. The thing with this full moon is that it is also sextile, or excuse me, it is trining Pluto in Capricorn. So I feel like this could also be connected to career for you. So, with Venus and Capricorn moving through your 10th house of career, this full moon may be asking, like, do you think you're worth more money? Or that you could be putting yourself up for some kind of promotion or some kind of raise or some kind of elevation in your status connected to professional things or your general reputation. Because Venus is going to be helpful for you in kind of elevating yourself to bosses or superiors or the general public. And I do feel like you just may certain that you may feel powerful connected to career, because it's going to be trying Pluto, that planet of power, in your career sector. So it could definitely be an interesting, beneficial, yet kind of go with the flow as far as money and finances go for you. So for Taurus, let me actually I'm going to share my screen here. Give me 1 second. Okay, for Taurus rising, the full moon is falling in your first house. Okay, this is a very personal full moon for you. This could, again, this is sort of giving me personal completion, fulfillment, chapter ending, chapters beginning kind of energy. You really may be surprising people with like decisions that you're making, and this is really a time to kind of be a little selfish, frankly, because Uranus is kind of a selfish planet, and it's really this might be asking you to be making some personal and professional decisions that really kind of benefit you, essentially. And this could also be a personal ending or beginning to something that is kind of shocking or surprising in nature, maybe in your relationships as well, because it is opposite the sun in your seventh house of relationships and partnerships. So it could be like just, like a sudden turn of events or like a sudden acceleration and something relationship oriented. I also really want you to be aware of that. I feel like you're going to be solidly connected to your beliefs right now. What you believe in, your personal philosophy, your political ideas, your spirituality. This is because your ruling planet Venus is going to be in your ninth house of higher education, your beliefs, your spirituality. So, whatever decisions you are making, it's not that you're being selfish about them. It's that you're being connected. That I think that you need to be connected to your own authenticity, your power, your own sort of sovereignty, and not really letting other people necessarily influence your decisions. Um, this is trine Pluto as well. So again, Pluto is finishing up its journey through your ninth whole sign, through your ninth house. So, again, like I'm gonna say like a powerfully connected to your own faith, your own ideals, and kind of letting your own intuition and um your sense of like what is right lead you through this full moon. But I would say this full moon feels very liberating for you. Like this is kind of letting go of all of your fucks full moon, essentially. So enjoy. Gemini rising, this full moon is falling in your 12th house. This is a more private full moon for you. This could be sudden illumination, um shocking realizations or even liberating yourself from like subconscious beliefs or fears that are holding you back. This full moon is falling in your 12th house. It's a very hidden sector of your chart that has to do with things that are just hidden from you. It could be ways in which that you sabotage yourself, or ways in which people that masquerade as allies actually sabotage you. The 12th house really has to do with like mental health, subconscious health, and sometimes chronic illness as well. So this full moon could really like shake loose, liberate, show you something that has been hidden from you, that maybe you were hiding from yourself, ways in which that you disempower yourself or sabotage yourself, for instance. And it's, it could be like, wow, I didn't really notice that, I didn't see that, but it's sort of like, like a sudden flash of intuition. This would be a really good time to have some private time, maybe to journal or pull some tarot cards, or even just really pay attention to your dreams around the full moon. Just because this is a really potent energy that just sort of shows you things that are hidden from you, or that you sort of hide from yourself. Also, further, I think emphasizing this point is that the ruling planet Venus in Capricorn is moving through your hidden eighth house. The eighth house has to do with other people's money, joint finances, but also like stored emotions, emotional trauma. So Venus going through your eighth house for the next month or so will be helpful if you need to get any type of credit or a loan, or to raise some capital, especially if you need like investors or backers. Or it could just be that your partner or someone that you were intimately connected with is making more money around this time. And I'm going to say that this full moon is going to help you draw on hidden reserves of strength, or just this feels like a full moon that you can really have some sort of private, sort of inner transformation, just because it is going to be connected to Pluto in your hidden eighth house. Cancer rising. This full moon is happening in your 11th house. So let's see. What are my notes saying about this? What did I write? So this full moon is happening in the place in your chart that is about your group, is about groups that you belong to, allies, people on social media, your fans. If you have any fans, let's say that your social media influencer, these would be your fans. Also, your hopes, wishes, and dreams for the future. So this could, there could be some kind of like event with maybe like suddenly joining some kind of group, or getting involved in like, let's say that like, oh, this might be a time that I suddenly join some kind of tarot circle. Let's say I'm interested in tarot, and all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I get this invitation to go join this tarot group. It's kind of out of nowhere. It's exciting. It's electric. It's fun. That is an example of a full moon conjunct Uranus in the 11th house. Or perhaps you have a sudden opportunity connected to a friend, or a person in a group or professional organization that you belong to. Given that Venus is in your 7th house of partnership, it does feel like it is beneficial that other people, relationships, and partnerships benefit you right now. This might be a time that you have some exciting collaborations with people. It might also be a time that you find yourself drawn to your one-on-one relationships and partnerships and alliances, as Venus is going to be helping you build kind of some solid relationships during this time. And also, you may find that there is maybe like a healing factor or something transformative about your relationships, considering this full moon is going to be trine Pluto, which is finishing up in Capricorn. It's finishing up its several-year journey in your 7th house of partnerships. But friends and allies in relationships seem to be really kind of beneficial for you, or exciting around this full moon. For Leo rising, this full moon is falling in your 10th house. This is a something exciting, maybe something sudden, maybe something you didn't see coming in career. Whether it could be your career or your public reputation. This makes me feel like, let's say that you run your own business and you do a lot of your own social media. This might be a time that you maybe do some kind of exciting, different kind of branding campaign where you're like, you know what, just fuck it. We're going to try something totally unique and totally different, very out of the box. That's very full moon conjunct Uranus in the 10th house. Or it could be that maybe you have the courage to sort of make a long desired change in your career, or something just really strikes you and you're like, hey, let's do this, let's do something different. Or perhaps there is some sort of shocking sudden development considering a boss or authority figure in your because that also is 10th house stuff. But either way, authority figures, public, public and professional, public and professional reputation as far and career. There's some exciting things going on. Maybe some endings, but also maybe some sudden new kinds of things coming in here, or making or having the courage to make a bold choice. This is ruled by Venus in your 6th house of work and health. This is a good time to maybe implement some new kind of work routines. Maybe again thinking outside the box, like implementing some new health routines, or just feeling better in health and having like a different exercise routine or something like that. But this full moon does feel very much connected to career and also your work and health kind of routines as well. For Virgo rising, this full moon is conjunct the 9th house. So is conjunct the 9th house. This full moon is in your 9th house, and it is conjunct Uranus in your 9th house. So this could be like something exciting, unusual, sudden happening, and things connected to maybe higher education, maybe learning spirituality or astrology or tarot is very connected to the 9th house. It could be that maybe that you're having like a sudden change, or just that you're deciding to take a trip that is somehow unusual in nature, that is exciting, out of the box for you, or that there is a change connected with anything education or travel related. Um, what else is 9th house? This would be also really be a time when you could just feel very connected to your beliefs and your ideals and your spirituality. Um, maybe something unusual is coming in. You're like, wow, I never really thought I'd be into this ideology, but it's really happening under this full moon conjunct Uranus. Like, actually, you know what? Communism actually really appeals to me. Like finding out it's actually not that bad. Something like that. But yeah, so some sort of conclusion, or just event awareness connected to education, travel, beliefs. Sometimes there are legal things that come in with the 9th house. This is ruled by Venus and Capricorn. It's moving through your 5th house of romance and children and pleasure. This could be a good time for you to connect with your children. For any kind of sexual pleasure or romance, it's also favored with this as well. And even just really even engaging with your creativity and noting that, like, hey, my creative ideas really have value. There is value behind what I do for pleasure and my recreation. So overall, it looks like a well-supported full moon for you. And I would say that there's also some transformation to be had. Well, I don't know, transformation, but some renewing energy found in just having fun, found in romance and pleasure and connecting with your children, just because this full moon is trine Pluto happening in your 5th house. Libra rising, this full moon is happening in your 8th house. There could be something shocking, unexpected, or exciting happening in the part of your chart that's connected to joint finances. So it could be that you find out that your partner has some sort of sudden financial opportunity, or that it's just something connected to loans, investments, credit cards, other people's money. There could be some sort of shocking, unexpected thing. I do feel like it's leaning positive with this full moon because it's trine Pluto and it's ruled by Venus and Capricorn. So it does feel pretty good. That's kind of when I get there. I feel like other people's money. There could be something interesting happening under the surface emotionally, maybe sort of discovering that, hey, I have some stuff that I need to work through, like a sudden, like sort of like emotional release connected to this full moon, because there could be hidden things under the surface for you. This full moon is ruled by Venus and Capricorn in your 4th house. So over the next 3-ish weeks, it might be a good time to redecorate your home space, make your home space more lived in and comfortable and pleasurable. It helps your relationships with your family. And anything connected to home and family is sort of benefited by this full moon and by Venus and Capricorn. And also, I'm gonna say this full moon feels a little bit more private for you, as it is connected to it's trine Pluto, that planet of power and transformation happening in your fourth house. So it's sort of like I just feel like things connected to home feel beneficial in some way. And okay, yeah, I got to move this along. So Scorpio rising, full moon is happening in your seventh house of partnership. There could be a shocking twist, sudden development, acceleration, ending, beginning, all of the above happening in your partnerships. So this is your partnerships, your one-on-one relationships and alliances. This could be, let's say you've been dating someone, all of a sudden you're committed, or that you have been kind of in a situationship with someone and all of a sudden you're like, you know what, fuck it, I'm worth more than this, I don't want to do this anymore, like I'm not treated right. um just very aware of the worth that your relationships and partnerships are bringing, and being aware of your worth as well, right? It could also just be like a sudden collaboration, or a sudden unusual exciting relationship comes your way, where it's like, this is not something I would normally see myself in, but this is really resonating with me right now, it feels really good. It could be something connected to that. This full moon is also trine Mercury. Excuse me. This full moon is also ruled by Venus in Capricorn, moving through your third house of communication, siblings, and neighbors. This is a good time to be communicating, to be writing, to be getting your ideas out in the public, to be working on your book or your communications project, or to even taking a class or learning something new. Getting out to the world and talking with people, talking to your neighbors. Your connections with siblings are favored right now as well. And really just kind of it's going to help you with your words in communication and any kind of correspondence over the next 3 weeks. This is also trine Pluto in Capricorn, so in your third house. So your words are powerful right now. This is a time to use your voice, and this is a time to be very clear in your communication as well. Like you could be finding yourself really hammering out the details, or figuring out the sort of like minutia of your maybe new relationship, or figuring out what's going on in your relationship because of these connections to your third house planets. Sagittarius, this full moon is happening in your second. Nope. Where's this happening? Oh, okay. It's happening in your sixth house. So it could be some sort of twist or shocking or sudden or exciting thing happening potentially in work for you. It could be finding out that you have a new work project, that all of a sudden a coworker is leaving, that you have a new coworker, or that a boss is leaving. Maybe just changes in your work routines or how you do your work. This is also potentially about health. It could be that you suddenly are like, I really need to pay attention to this health thing, or that you have some sort of news connected to health. It might be more positive, considering this full moon does feel more positive. However, Uranus can be kind of unpredictable. But it could also just be like, you know what, I'm going to try this dance class. I have only been a weightlifter for years, but I really want to go take like Zumba or something. It's like listening to that kind of sudden, exciting kind of influence and trying something new as far as that. Sometimes this could be pets as well. There could be a change in pets, or you're getting a new pet, or something happens with the pet, because sixth house can be, kind of like more like domestic animals. This full moon is ruled by Venus in Capricorn, in your second house of money. So potentially, as far as work, if you're looking for like a new gig, if you're looking for some like freelance work, or you're looking for some, additional new work or something, or you want to be paid more for your work, this is good, because Venus is going to help you make more money. It's going to help you understand what your value is of your work. It's going to help you bring in kind of cash and resources. So understanding like the power of your worth in your resources is definitely going to be part of this full moon story for you. Capricorn rising. This full moon is falling in your fifth house. There is a sudden, exciting, shocking development going on within your creativity. You could feel really creatively inspired right now to sort of begin some project. Anything that you're having fun with, recreation, play. There can be just something new coming in. It's like, oh my God, a new game that I'm like really passionate about. That's really exciting. Doesn't have to be that big a deal. It could also be, considering a romance. It could be a sudden spark with someone. It could be that a crush turns into like a full-blown affair, a full-blown romance, or there's some sort of development in your love life. Could also be some sudden news connected to children as well, or pregnancy is possible here as well. Obviously, there's multiple factors, about pregnancy, so don't don't be too alarmed by that. But it could be something that some of you don't see coming. This full moon is ruled by Venus in your sign. Over the next 3-ish weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, can't remember. But I guess let's cut the difference. Say 3.5 weeks. Venus, planet of love and beauty, will be moving through your sign. This is a time to beautify your appearance, take care of your physical body, to buy yourself something nice, to just kind of treat yourself as a temple, to make yourself feel beautiful, to enjoy the company of others, to relate to people, to enjoy relationships. This full moon is also trine Pluto in Capricorn, finishing up in your sign. And I think that you'll feel really powerful. This is a time to use some beauty and magnetism, to sell yourself and to understand like how much you've changed, to just know that you have power in your appearance, essentially, or that you have like power in your sort of personal field right now, around this full moon. So this feels like a very harmonious full moon for you, even though there is that kind of shocking kind of energy to it. Aquarius rising, this full moon is happening in your 4th house of home and family. So that shocking, unusual twist or that exciting energy is happening in your 4th house of home. So things connected to where you're living, your domicile, your abode. It could be, you could be finding out that like, hey, we have to move, or that you suddenly find like your dream place, but it's a little like the timing is not what you expected, or that you're like, you know what? Let's get rid of this furniture. Let's get all new stuff because I just have an itch to redo and redecorate is very much a thing here. It could also just be some news connected to like parents, you or your immediate family. So it could have something to do with that. It also could just be like news connected to your ancestry, or news or awareness sort of connected to your past and like your roots. It's very much 4th house energy as well. Either way, it does feel like a more private kind of full moon for you because it is happening in a very private part of your chart, especially because Venus, the ruling planet of Taurus, is in Capricorn right now in your hidden 12th house. So there could be like a psychological element to this, where this is really time to maybe take care of your mental health, to have some rest time, to have some private time. And just because this full moon and the players involved are all happening in very sort of private houses for you. So maybe having some sort of behind the scenes, renewal behind the scenes, sort of kind of transformation going on. It does feel like a more kind of behind the scenes full moon for you. For Pisces rising, this full moon is in your 3rd house of communication. So it could be like a shocking, unusual, exciting correspondence. Someone reaches out that you haven't reached, that like maybe you could be like connecting with someone on social media that you haven't connected with before, that there's sudden news with a sibling or neighbor or something in your local community that affects you. It could be that you're changing maybe your commute or kind of what car you're driving, for instance. Full moon can bring like changes in your transportation and commute. That's why I say that. But it also could just really stimulate your mind. You could be really into like learning something new, or really really be inspired by some book you're reading, or you really could just have something to say. You could be like, this is a time I'm going to start a Substack or start a blog or start like a new social media thing where you are corresponding with people and talking to people. There's like a correspondence, talking to people kind of thing with this full moon. This full moon could also be about like a sudden trip, or a trip that you're taking that is exciting for you. Just because 3rd house can have to do with like short distance travel. Either way, it's very stimulating for your mind. This does feel like a very social moon for you, just because it is ruled by Venus and Capricorn in your 11th house of groups, allies, social media people, friends. So this does feel like a sort of social, kind of friendly, kind of full moon, maybe exciting opportunities that come from friends. This would be a time to collaborate with groups, or collaborate with friends, or like network yourself like over the next couple weeks, because Venus will be going through this part of your chart. So, that is all for this episode. So happy full moon to y'all. Let me know what's going on in your life. Maybe in the comments how this energy is feeling for you. And then I will be back next week talking about that Mercury retrograde in a little bit more detail and what to expect. So Thanks all for joining me. Remember, you can always book a session with me at dogstaroracle.com. I'd love to connect with more of you, especially because I will have discounts on my year ahead readings coming up soon. So pay attention to my YouTube or my other social media channels for more information on that. I'll be dropping information on that soon. I only do that once per year. So talk to you all soon. Happy full moon and be well.